Let us now sing the praises of famous men, our ancestors in their generations. The Lord appointed to them great glory, the majesty, or His majesty from the beginning. There were those who ruled in their kingdoms and made a name for themselves by their valor. Those who gave counsel because they were intelligent. Those who spoke in prophetic oracles. Those who led the people by their counsels and by their knowledge of the people's lore. They were wise in their words of instruction. Those who composed musical tunes or put verses in writings. Rich men endowed with resources, living peacefully in their homes. All these were honored in their generations and were the pride of their times. Some of them have left behind a name, so that others declare their praise. But of others there is no memory. They have perished as though they had never existed. They have become as though they had never been born. They have their children after them. They and their children after them. But these also were godly men whose righteous deeds have not been forgotten. Their wealth will remain with their descendants, and their inheritance with their children's children. Their descendants stand by the covenants, and their children also for their sake. Their offspring will continue forever, and their glory will never be blotted out. Their bodies are buried in peace, but their names live on generation after generation. The assembly declares their wisdom, and the congregation proclaims their praise. The name of Josiah is like blended incense prepared by the skill of the perfumer. His memory is as sweet as honey to every mouth, and like music at a banquet of wine. He did what was right by reforming the people and removing the wicked abominations. He kept his heart fixed on the Lord. In lawless times he made godliness prevail. Except for David and Hezekiah and Josiah, all of them were great sinners. For they abandoned the law of the Most High. The kings of Judah came to an end. They gave their power to others and their glory to a foreign nation, who set fire to the chosen city of the sanctuary and made its streets desolate, as Jeremiah had foretold. For they had maltreated him, who even in the womb had been consecrated as a prophet, to pluck up and ruin and destroy, and likewise to build and to plant. It was Ezekiel who saw the vision of glory which the Lord showed him above the chariot of the cherubim. For the Lord also mentioned Job, who held fast to all the ways of justice. May the bones of the 12 prophets send forth new life from where they lay. For they comforted the people of Jacob and delivered them with confident hope. How shall we magnify Zerubbabel? He was like a signet ring on the right hand. And so was Jeshua, son of Zadok. In their days, they built the house and raised a temple, holy to the Lord, destined for everlasting glory. The memory of Nehemiah also is lasting. He raised our fallen walls and set up gates and bars and rebuilt our ruined houses. Few have ever been created on earth like Enoch, for he was taken up from the earth. Nor was anyone ever born like Joseph. Even his bones were cared for. Shem and Seth and Enosh were honored, but above every other created living being was Adam. The leader of his brothers and the pride of his people was the high priest Simon, son of Oninas, who in his life repaired the house, and in his time fortified the temple. He laid the foundations for the high double walls, the high retaining walls for the temple enclosure. In his days, a water cistern was dug, a reservoir like the sea in circumference. He considered how to save his people from ruin and fortified the city against siege. How glorious he was, surrounded by the people as he came out of the house of the curtain. Like the morning star among the clouds, like the full moon at the festival seasons, like the sun shining on the temple of the Most High, like the rainbow gleaming in splendid clouds, like roses in the days of first fruits, like lilies by a spring of water, like a green shoot on Lebanon on a summer day, like fire and incense in the censer, like a vessel of hammered gold studded with all kinds of precious stones, like an olive tree laden with fruit, and like a cypress towering in the clouds. When he put on his glorious robe and clothed himself in perfect splendor, when he went up to the holy altar, he made the court of the sanctuary glorious. When he received the portions from the hands of the priests, as he stood by the hearth of the altar, with a garland of brothers around him, he was like a young cedar on Lebanon, surrounded by the trunk of palm trees. All the sons of Aaron in their splendor held the Lord's offering in their hands before the whole congregation of Israel, finishing the service at the altars and arranging the offering to the Most High, the Almighty. He held out his hand for the cup and poured a drink offering of the blood of the grape. He poured it out at the foot of the altar, a pleasing odor to the Most High, the King of all. Then the sons of Aaron shouted, they blew their trumpets of hammered metal. They sounded a mighty fanfare as a reminder before the Most High. Then all the people together quickly fell to the ground on their faces to worship our Lord the Almighty, God Most High. Then the singers praised him with their voices in sweet and full-toned melody. And the people of the Lord Most High offered their prayers before the Merciful One until the order of worship of the Lord was ended and they completed his ritual. Then Simon came down and raised his hands over the whole congregation of the Israelites to pronounce the blessing of the Lord with his lips and to glorify and to glory in his name. And they bowed down and worship a second time, received the blessing from the Most High. And now bless the God of all, who everywhere works great wonders, who exalts our days from birth and deals with us according to his mercy. May he give us gladness of heart, and may there be peace in our days in Israel, as in the days of old. May he entrust to us his mercy, and may he deliver us in our days. 2 nations my soul detests, and the third is not even a nation. Those who live in Seir and the Philistines, and the foolish people who live in Shechem. Instruction in understanding and knowledge I have written in this book. Jesus, son of Eleazar, son of Sirach of Jerusalem, whose mind poured forth wisdom. Happy are those who concern themselves with these things, and those who lay them to heart will become wise. For if they put them into practice, they will be equal to anything, for the fear of the Lord is their path.